Welcome back everybody to another video. Sorry for the delays and everything for the channel. Obviously we just hit the new year. It's officially 2021. I apologize, been away doing some stuff with the family and everything, but hopefully you guys had a fantastic time with your New Year's and with your Christmas and everything. Today's video, yes, you guessed it, it is finally my review on our current event, my lovely KMS event, Inverted Orthant. Today's video is pretty much my opinion on the ships that we got released in the event, my thoughts, how they perform, how I think they'll be chapter viable wise, if any of them are going to be Operation Siren valuable, and pretty much just give you my opinions and everything on that, and some opinions on the skins and everything that came out, and then pretty much the overview of how I thought about the actual event itself and everything. And further ado, let's just stop talking and let's go ahead and bring up the Inverted Orthant page anyways. So we'll pretty much just be going in a list of ships that dropped. I'll be going in order who I think I personally want to go in order with, and then we'll go from there. So we'll start off with Nurnberg. Nurnberg was one of my ships that I dropped that I really wanted this event. Finally we have a Leipzig sister inside of the event and then inside of AL now, so Leipzig is now finally not alone and everything. So we'll go ahead and look at her sister's stats. As you can see, at level 120 she has pretty decent health, about 3,811 health. She has light armor, she does have a reload of 192, luck of 80, which is pretty good, evasion of 98, torp of 304, but her anti-air of 403, joining pretty much what her sister was with. Pretty damn close to her retrofit. Leipzig's retrofit kind of skyrocketed her AA, but for base elite with 403 AA, it's actually pretty decent for CL. We also got her CL gun load at 125% efficiency for her main gun, which is actually pretty solid. Her torp is 170% and her anti-guns is 140, so she scales pretty decently with her actual equipment and everything. Construction time of 120 for anybody that's curious and that hasn't done the event and anything like that. So we'll go ahead and pretty much look at her skills. So her first skill is follow my lead please. Every 15 seconds after the battle starts, she fires a level 10 barrage, but it's on level that the damage is based on the level skill, increases the XP earned by your SSs and SSVs that participate in the battle. So that's kind of cool. I was hoping for a cruiser ability. I know that she was kind of like an escort ship based off of her like actual performance stats IRL. And I'm sorry if I butcher the German names. Forgive me, I'm not German, so I'm sorry if I butcher you and offend you. I'm trying as hard as I can and everything like that. But it's cool to see that we actually have a cruiser that gives XP bonuses to our submarines, since there wasn't really anything to level submarines, and that submarines are a little bit more interesting to level considering the fact that you can really only level them when you call them in or if they sit in your dorm. They're not like a thing that you can constantly use. So that is something that's going to be pretty interesting to see how scaling wise that's good and how the XP is going to be for that and everything. So moving on, we got no strange ideas please. Increases the ship's torp by 1%, 10% max level, and the AA of your Iron Blood ships by 5%, 15% max level whenever 3 enemy aircraft are shot down within your fleet's anti-air gun range. Increases the ship's AA by 1%, 5% at max level until the end of the battle, can be stacked up to 3 times. So that one right there is kind of pretty much like Z46's Iron Annihilation skill. So like anything that she kind of pretty much shoots in that area, she'll constantly kind of reapply that buff, stacking up to 3 times, increasing her AA and her torp output, which with the 170% scaling on her torpedoes and 304, which the base stat of the torpedo is not great, but if you get some decent torps on her, she could actually be doing pretty solid amount of damage. So not a bad cruiser to get with for us at all by any means. And then her standard base all-out assault and everything like that. So Nurnberg looks pretty solid in my opinion. I don't think she'll be pretty trash. As far as tier wise, I personally don't really go off tier lists. I don't think that's a thing that a new player should really worry about. I honestly think that the tier list thing is kind of like an outdated system and is a very stupid system. Just based on the fact that like it doesn't really help anybody understand the values of the game, because it's going to just pretty much tell a player to use meta ships and they're going to try to whale all their resources or trying to obtain them in ways of them not being able to enjoy the game, because then if they don't get this shit, they're like, well, I don't have a meta ship, I don't want to play the game anymore, or they're going to have to wait or anything like that. So Personally, I'm not going to tier them or anything like that. I'm just going to give you my value opinion on how you think I'll perform. Well, I think that she'll be Chapter 12 viable. Yeah, I think she'll be pretty solid if you pair her with like an AA fleet buffer, like maybe Montpellier or Lipsing in general, or any of the Cleveland class sisters along with HMS. I think she'll be pretty decent. She'll have a lot of decent AA potential and everything like that with their scaling and all that. Chapter 13 might be a different story, but you could probably run her at a mob fleet in Chapter 13 with some buffers, and she'll probably do pretty solid. Next down the list, we're going to go with Weser, or aka Weser, and it just disappears off the screen. So, Weser is a German CVL, aka light aircraft carrier. 4,000, about 5,000 health ish at level 120, which for a light aircraft carrier is kind of meh and everything like that. She's got medium armor, her reload's 179, her evasion's 75, but her luck is 30, which is pretty trash. I'm not gonna lie. Everything like that. Her aviation is 323, and her AA is 264. Glory to Ironblood for having shit AA in their backline, but we don't really pretty much care about that. Her efficiency scaling, her anti-gun is terrible at 80%. It's not even, it's just pretty much a joke. Her die bomber is 145 and her fighters are 130. So she's not the greatest in my opinion. At most, she's probably gonna be like more of a supporter-based ship, honestly, with her lonesome lookout skill, which is like if a 8th grade teacher just slapped a Hong Kong phone book on the table and copied and pasted it from the wiki, and they just threw that as one of her skills, because this is a freaking mouthful of a skill that's insane. The lonesome lookout skill. Ship launches an airstrike, 40% chance, 70% at max, chance to launch an additional special airstrike. Damage is based on the air skill, obviously. At the start of the battle, if there are 3 or more Ironblood ships in the same fleet, increases the ship's critical damage by 5%, which doesn't make sense because she's a CVL with pretty shit scaling and aviation in general. If there are no other Ironblood ships, instead increases the ship's reload, which I would prefer more, by 10% max, and AA by 15% max, and further increases the proc chance of the ship's special airstrike by 30%. So technically she can get a 90% chance to proc her special airstrike, which in general isn't even that great. I'm still waiting on the data miners to actually see the damage potential output with this skill itself, because we don't have many thoughts on it as well. But I mean, for a CVL, these deficiencies aren't super great, and her aviation in general is only at 323, which is pretty low, especially if you compare it to other CVLs in the game that we have, like Unicorn and Shoho, and especially Centaur, which I don't even understand how she's a CVL in general, but it's okay. But now the very interesting still is the galvanizing shield. Every 20 seconds at the battle starts, deploys a shield that lasts for 8 seconds max, and can block 6 shells of a randomly chosen ship in your vanguard if the shield is deployed on an Ironblood ship, and increases the ship's firepower by 15% at max, and heals Weser for 5% of her HP at max. That shield in general is pretty interesting. It's like Latorio's shield, so she's gonna randomly spawn a ship shield that's on the vanguard, and it's gonna block shells. It's like a frontal facing shield. Pretty interesting skill to give to a CVL, because it doesn't really give her anything else as far as like to do with anything, honestly. But I'm curious to see how decent the heal is gonna be, because it says 5% of her HP, 5% of, 5,000 health at level 120 doesn't sound great, but it could be something potentially nice, so not too bad. I'm curious to see how Weser will pretty much perform. And in general, my solid thoughts that she may be Chapter 12 viable, but she would have to have a lot of support and everything. She's not going to be a very great standalone ship in general or anything like that. So let's look at the point accumulation reward. Z24 you'll get from doing and farming your points on the events and getting the coins and everything to turn in for Z24. So she's point accumulation. She is a destroyer class for Ironblood. She has 2,000 health, which is pretty decent for an actual destroyer. It's more than common for the other destroyers. She has 199 reload. She has 56 luck, pretty decent, pretty high evasion of 157, pretty decent torp at 327. Good firepower actually, because she's a firepower destroyer at 120. And then her main gun efficiency is actually really high, 160%. That's pretty solid for a firepower destroy. Her torps aren't that great, only being at 120, but she'll make up with it probably for her firepower and generosity. So with like the new meta gear lab, you can build the high angle gold fire AA gun, which will increase the firepower and AA for them. So that'd be a very solid build on her to increase her firepower and everything like that as well. Looking at our skills, we have Boon of the Crimson Darkness. Increases the ship's damage against DDs and CLs, which is very interesting. Once per battle, when the HP of one of your Z-class destroyers falls below 30%, decreases that ship's damage taken by 30% and increases the ship's firepower, torp, and reload by 5%, 15 at max level until the end of the battle. So we got a new Zed ship in here, and that buff alone, increasing her by 15% more damage on top of 120% firepower, increasing her reload and torp, and it decreases the damage of one of your Zed destroyers in there. I think her, honestly, with Z1, Z24, and Nimi will be your new Z-class fleet. Not considering that a lot of people want to run a Z-class fleet, but I think that would be the new meta for them instead of running Z46. The Z24 is going to replace it because now you have a full fleet of firepower Z-class destroyers. And bringing that skill to the table, that's pretty solid, considering the fact that Libby already increases your Z-class's damage performance by a pretty decent amount, and then she has her own buff that increases it as well, so that's pretty solid. Her second skill is Finish Rampage. At the start of the battle, every 20 seconds, it fires a special barrage. Damage is based on the level. Whenever the ship sinks an enemy, it increases the ship's firepower and torp up to max of 4% until the end of the battle. It can be stacked up to 5 times. So again, pretty much self-buffing firepower destroyer. So I'm very curious on how she's actually going to solidly perform. I want to actually do some testing with the Z-class destroyers and actually put Z24 in there and see how she's going to perform now with everything going on. I really like the art concept as Z24 and everything like that, but now with like her double buffs on firepower and everything, I think she has the ability to do pretty solid damage, especially with Nimi, Libby, and herself inside of the fleet. So I'm curious to see how she's going to be performance-wise. You can definitely, the Z23 with that, it should definitely be valuable in Chapter 12. Obviously, you're not going to run a destroyer fleet in Chapter 13 unless you want to watch your fucking front line get annihilated by planes and everything like that. So we're not even going to do with that. Z28, we'll go ahead and look at her. Cute little lolly ship of the event and everything like that. Really cute Ubu torps and everything like that. You got a little Piagen inside of her. So looking at her, she's destroyer of the Ironblood class with 2,000 plus health. Very shitty firepower at 76. Anti-air kind of mediocre as well at 143, but her torp is pretty damn high at 423. So it's pretty high torp with decent aviation, but her torp is only at 120%. So you give her high torp, but she's got meh percentage on her scaling. And what's funny is that they gave her high efficiency on her main gun, which her main guns are only at 76, so that's not even that great. But moving on to her skills, she's got I Love My Sisters. It increases firepower and accuracy almost 10% max, and AA 15% max for your Z-class DDs. If there's another Z-class DD in the same fleet as this ship, increases the ship's firepower and torp and ASW at the same time. So that skill, I mean, compared to Z24, I don't think Z28 would be viable in a Z fleet unless you want to run another Z fleet with her and the other girls inside of it, like Z46 and some other ships, because Z24 is already going to do more damage than her by a long shot, considering that Z24 has a buff with the Z fleet's increasing damage, and she has her own buff increasing damage when she sinks a ship, and she has higher firepower but lower torp, but way better firepower to begin with. And she has the I'll Protect the Vanguard skill. Start of battle, plays a smoke screen and fires a special barrage, and the smoke screen has a 30% chance max to proc again every 15 seconds when your flagship takes damage, 70% chance to fire the same special barrage. Damage is based on skill, 20-second cooldown between activations. Smoke screen lasts 5 seconds and increases evasion rate by 20%, 40% max when all your ships are in it. Does not stack with smoke screen skills. So I mean, that kind of makes sense. I want to understand because smacking smoke screen skills would just be pretty insane. But then in general, I mean, pretty solid aviation skill and everything like that, but not very viable in a Zed Fleet formation, considering that the Zed Fleet formation, you pretty much want pure firepower and everything, and she does not bring that to the table. She brings more torp and utility for everybody else, so I would definitely just throw her into another fleet to level her up and go from there. Being chapter 12 viable, you could probably, as I said, run her with some other ships and everything like that, and she'll be pretty decent and everything like that as well. But as far as my a ship that I like during the event, test her out, see how she is, but not looking too great. The main three ships I wanted from this event were Peter Strasser, Prinz Heinrich, and Nurnberg, and U-37 obviously. So let's go ahead and look at U-37 now. Iron class submarine as well. Getting another submarine that is going to pretty much actually run the Wolfpack formation as well. Surprise, surprise. Iron Blood submarine meta comes back with the event again. Health we don't give a shit about because it's a submarine. Torp 540. I don't think I need to say anything from there. It's already extremely high submarine scaling. Her submarine torpedoes are 125 in general. She brings westward trident to the boat, which increases this boat's oxygen by 20 max, and damage against light armor increases by 15% at max. With the boat resurfaces, fired a special barrage based on the skill's level. So she actually already has higher oxygen than her other sisters. So the great thing about this is going to be the fact that U-37 compared to the other Iron Bloods is going to be the very first submarine that doesn't have to run a snorkel, and you can pretty much just do double rainbow torp and she'll pretty much just shit damage out of her ass because she doesn't need oxygen based off of her skill, because she already has higher oxygen and she has the westward skill that increases her oxygen in general. So she doesn't have to survive with the snorkel compared to where all the other German ones, you have to pretty much sacrifice one of your auxiliary slots for snorkel to increase their oxygen so that they can stay underwater a decent amount more time. And again, of course, she has Wolfpack formation, increases his boat speed by 3 and reload by 8. For each Iron Blood SS in the same fleet, increases his boat's torp, aviation, and accuracy by 6%. So, of course, she gets the Wolfpack formation, which we're all aware of the Wolfpack formation with Iron Blood submarines. A lot more damage, energy buff, they can stack as well. So pretty much the new Wolfpack formation that we're looking at, a lot of people will probably say is going to be U-37 with either U-101 and U-81, or it's going to be U-37 with U-81 and U-96. And then going from there, I personally am still going to be running U-47 with U-81 and U-96, and then my second one will be U-37 with U-1110 and U-101 for 2 full Wolfpack formation fleets. Even though U-47 doesn't really have the Wolfpack formation, but U-47 brings a lot more damage and everything like that, even though she's a lone submarine. But that doesn't really matter to me in general anyways. So let's go with my favorite event ship of the event, and probably the best ship that dropped from the event, my girl, Prinz Heinrich. And of course, is done by my boy, Dishwasher, fantastic artist, finally being recognized in the game to actually do official concept art, and he fucking destroyed it and nailed it out of here. I'm so glad that he got to do the art for Prinz Heinrich. Prinz Heinrich is a P-class cruiser of the Iron Bloods and everything like that. Extremely solid health, 6,000 almost at max level, and has 310 firepower at max level, which is actually more than Rune herself at max level and everything like that as well. So it'd be very awesome to see how she performs, and I'm already using her already, and she pretty much is slapping everybody that I see, even at low levels. Even though she has 245 torp, we don't really care about that because she's more of a firepower based CP class ship, so heavy cruiser, aka CA. Her scaling, we got 160% on her main gun, which is fantastic already, because she has insanely high firepower already. Her torp's 130%, pretty decent, even though she's at 245, so it doesn't really matter. And her AA is just a solid 100 with no scaling, but it's okay, we don't really care about that. We care more about her firepower with her 2 skills that are very interesting. So her first skill, which is Stick a Messin', is there's at least one other Iron Blood ship in the same fleet. Increases the ship's reload and evasion. When the ship fires its main gun, 20% 20% chance, 50% at max, chance to increase the ship's main gun damage by 25% for 5 seconds. So she has the ability to do insane shit damage already, which is just crazy. And if you look at limit breaks here, if you look at this right here, this beautiful skill that says equip special secondary gun. You all remember Odin? She has the ability, because her other skill is the punch skill, which spawns 2 shields, and they're random, so it either block bullets or block torps, which I personally don't like that, even though it's a frontal ship skill, and I think it's kind of meh to begin with and shouldn't really have been there. But to make up for it, she has the ability to equip special secondary gun, which means that she has ghost sub auxiliary guns, just like Odin. So she has those ghost secondary aux guns, just like Odin, to have special secondary damage, which have a pretty decently scaling. So as Heinrich is looking pretty damn spicy. Maybe potential new high class CA for us that's going to be doing a lot of work. But other than that, we'll have to see how she's performing. Other than that, she performs very well. So I'm glad to have another CA that ain't shit besides Maroon inside of the Iron Blood formation there. Last ship of the event. I'm sorry guys, my allergies are getting to me now, but last ship of the event, and the one that I am pretty much really enjoy the concept art of. I really like this art. Color pretty much came as Kermie with all of the long hairstyle of Kermie, the clocks, literally the Zoff keel that was in the PV and everything like that as well. Everything. Peter Strasser. I'm in a loss for words with this aircraft carrier. I really wanted her to be good and everything like that. And don't get me wrong, she's solid, but she's definitely not what I thought that she would be with the potential that they had to make her. Peter Strasser, aka Graf Zeppelin armor class type. She is pretty much Graf Zeppelin's sister, coming out with really solid health. I mean, for a aircraft carrier above almost 7,500, which is pretty solid. Aviation of 423 and decent AA. All of her efficiencies are pretty okay at this. You know, her fighter's only 120, which is but her dive bombers and her torps are 140, 130, which kind of make up for it. I get that, honestly, the Germans were not, built for, aircraft, and not known for that. They were more known for their cruisers and their battleships and everything like that. So, going from there, we have the Iron-Blooded Falcon skill, which, when the ship launches an airstrike, 100% chance, which that's bullshit. That's not true. Chance to launch an additional torp bomber airstrike damage is based on the skill. So the torp bomber skill on this is it's going to launch the new Iron Blood Suka torp bombers, which in general, in my opinion, and what we have seen as far as their damage potential, aren't that great compared to what we're seeing out of. And with the data that were on this, the barrage damage and everything, that's what makes this very sad, because I wanted her to actually have a barrage skill that launched decent planes and actually did pretty solid damage, but that was not the case. Her paralyzing advanced skill is very solid. She's got the ability to pretty much slow a person and bring them to 0% for all the enemies within her range to 0, which is really solid. So she's got a formidable skill, which I like, considering the fact that they gave her a time piece art-based style, so I was hoping that they would at least have a time skill. And then she has the Iron-Blooded Peon skill, which each Iron Blood ship in the same fleet increases the ship's aviation and can be stacked up to 3 times. If there are 4 more Iron Blood ships in the same fleet, reduces the time needed for your Iron Blood CVs and CVLs to reload their airstrikes by 3. So, in pretty interesting skill, it's going to increase your Iron Blood's reloads, which maybe that's why I'm running her with Graf Zeppelin right now. So she has the ability to be a very decent supportive ship, but she's what I was hoping for, another possible tier 0 aircraft carrier, and unfortunately she fell extremely short of that. Honestly, she's most likely only going to be placed within putting this one, since I really like aircrafts tier-wise, is going to be 2 or 3 at max, but she's still pretty solid. She's not bad, but definitely underperformed of what I was really expecting. Other than that, guys, that is pretty much all of the ships. That's my personal thoughts and opinions on the ships in general. I think, honestly, with pairs, they can all be Chapter 12 viable, and honestly, just use them. If you like the ship, use them. Don't worry about what anybody else says about the ship or anything like that. If you like the ship, just use the girl you like. Don't worry about all that stuff. So, anywho, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, I will link my Twitter, my Discord, and my Twitch in the link description below. Come follow me on my social media and everything like that. Come hang out with us in Discord, talk about girls. Come follow me on Twitch. I practically stream 2 to 3 times every week. Everything like that. You guys can see me live, doing events, doing Operation Siren, chilling with a bunch of awesome community people and everything like that as well. If you guys ever need to message out to me, you guys can also message me in Discord, or you can feel to message me in the comments description below. If you guys are interested in playing Azur Lane, I will leave a download to the game below. If you guys are curious on what the website I was using to pull up the information, I will also link that below as well. And I will see all you guys again next video. Until then, peace out, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see all you guys again next time. Have a good one.